sorry, we didn't have the dashes in.
I would have to log out of this or log out.
Okay, all right, thanks, bye.
We're good to go? We're good to go? Okay. All right, well, welcome everyone to this June 29th, 2020 Sylvania Board of Education meeting. If you wish to participate, please email district@sylvaniaschools.org to note your desire to participate either in the opportunity for items on this evening's agenda or those not. With that, you'll call the roll, please.
Vicki Donovan-Lyle.
Here.
Julie Hoffman.
Here.
Shannon Zapersky.
Here.
Bruce Wonslinski.
Here.
Greg Feller.
Here.
Thank you. And say the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is over. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And with that, we will begin with our recognition of achievement, but we're not doing anything other than having a motion and a second for that, right? We have to approve the recognition. So I'll move approval of the item 2.1 on our agenda. Any comments or questions? If you'll call the roll, please.
Vicki Donovan-Lyle.
Yes.
Bruce Wonslinski.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Shannon Zapersky.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone who signed up for public participation for agenda items that we're aware of yet? No? Okay. So we'll move on to item 4.1, discussion for meal price increases. I see you in our audience, Mr. Shannon, so the floor is yours.
Stay right here.
I think if you can...
Good evening. All school districts every year are required to do a calculation called paid lunch equity on their program for serving food in schools every year. Section 205 of the Healthy, Hunger, Free Kids Act of 2010 requires that. By doing that calculation, you can decide whether or not you're keeping up with the weighted average that you're supposed to charge for meals as guided by the government. If you have a positive balance in your food service account as of December 31st of any calendar year, you do not have to take that in consideration when choosing your meal prices. As of December 31st, 2019, Sylvania Schools food service account had a balance of $71,000. Therefore, we were not mandated to raise prices. However, the COVID-19 hit the school district, and we were doing quite well in our meal participation and in all areas, and of course that took the legs out from underneath us. We did do grab-and-go breakfasts and lunches through the entire process and met the needs of the students in the Sylvania community. During that process, free and reduced participation made up about 98% of all meals. So only 2% were paid lunches. So we did have a healthy participation in that. The food service directors around Northwest Ohio have been talking about school meal pricing, and we came together, Perrysburg schools, Rossford, Maumee, Anthony Wayne schools all indicated at this time that they were going to have a price increase on their meals for the 2020-2021 school year. Based on the fact that we have not had an increase in 5 school years and only 2 over the past 10 years, I am recommending the following price increases as listed on the paper I handed out. It would be 25 cents for the lunch price K through 5, 25 cents additional for the lunch price for 6 through 12, and 25 cents extra for the breakfast program as well. In addition to the COVID-19, one of the pressures that we realized was the reduction in our USDA commodities entitlement. The USDA took our commodities entitlement down 7 cents per meal, from 42 cents to 35 cents for every meal sold. This turned into a reduction of $33,536 that we can spend of the USDA's money on commodities. That's fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's items that we get from our prime vendor, Gordon's Foods. That reduction really hurts. That hurts us bad. And it's already been put into place, and our account has already been reflected with that loss to start this next school year. So that's one of the reasons why I'm suggesting this increase, proposing this. Moving forward, additionally, Sylvania Schools is going to be like every other food service industry, and we're going to have problems with supply chains. We're going to have fluctuations in commodities prices. You're going to have plenty of supply issues, and there could be significantly higher pricing moving forward into the fall. We don't quite know the impact yet, but it's going to be significant. And you can go to the grocery store and you can see the price of ground beef, and you can see the price of different commodities go up across the board. And like I had mentioned before, it's also been quite some time since we had to do that, since we've had to raise prices based on the amazing people that I have the pleasure to serve through hospitality, teaching, teamwork, and just a positive attitude in the cafeterias. Our participation is up significantly. Unfortunately, we don't have that to help us this next school year. I predict that participation will be reduced in any and all scenarios that we do at Sylvania Schools. So that's why I'm asking that the board consider this price increase and vote to approve that at the next board meeting. And if anybody has any questions, I'm open for questions.
So you mentioned Perrysburg, Rossburg, and all these other schools are increasing as well. How do you know what their increase is?
I do. Perrysburg is doing 25 cents across the board, so just like us. Anthony Wayne is doing 5 cents across the board. It's lower because their prices are actually already higher than ours. Maumee was 5 cents across the board again. Their prices were higher than ours, and Rossburg was 10 cents across the board, and that actually puts their high school meal price at $3.35, and it would put us at $3.25. So our prices are definitely in line with the averages in Northwest Ohio.
All right, thank you.
Sure. One other thing that I forgot to mention, I think it's probably helpful to put out there as well, is I'm anticipating participation in the free and reduced area. We're going to be able to serve our kids who are in need the most. I think that when we start the school year, it's going to be reflective, the balance will be reflective of the students that came during the March, April, and May timeframe. But should the COVID clear itself up, should we have a vaccine, should the rules change, we could see a significant increase in our paid students, which would be great for us. But if we're not prepared to be able to absorb the costs that have changed by putting this price into place, we could be opening ourselves up to more exposure because costs go up, and then we realize our usual, or at least somewhat close to our usual participation, it could open us up to exposure. So I feel like it's super important to do that. It's another point that I think probably should be made.
Joe, first of all, I want to thank, because I know there were so many who were great ambassadors for Sylvania Schools during COVID, who made sure kids were fed. I know of people who took food to people's homes. It just, thank you to you and your team, to everybody who worked to have that happen. That was just, those are some of the heartwarming moments to see during COVID, that kind of example of leadership. So we appreciate that. Is it your belief then that having this in place obviously protects us both in the reduction from the USDA, the potential escalation in the food prices that you're anticipating, that should things improve, so the opposite of what we've been through, that we'll also be in a position to be able to feed our students if they are returned to school?
We would be able to continue to offset some of those increases.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, I don't suspect that we could raise it enough to offset all the increases right now because things are so drastic, but at least if we if we put this increase in place, which again, if you look over time, just in the CPI alone, we're justified to do that by inflation over a period of 5 years. This gives us a better chance to offset those costs.
And it sounds like from what you said in answering Greg's question, that probably we're somewhere in the middle of the pack if this increase would go through as it relates to our neighboring districts in terms of food.
We are, definitely. And we still serve, obviously, only the highest quality foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, wholesome milk, whole grain items, absolutely. We'll still continue to do meet all of those demands as well.
Are there other questions for Joe? Any questions for Lisa? Do you have any comments or anything to add?
No, I guess my only question would be, so the food service balance was $71,000 as of December 31st, 2019. My question is, do they take into account that we transferred $48,000 so to break even from 19 to 20?
What?
That piece.
Correct. Yes. I asked my consultant down at the state, and I asked, is that the measure that they use? Do they take anything else into consideration? And they said, no. You need your snapshot right as of the end of the calendar year every year. For some reason, that's the snapshot that they use at that moment, and then that's the figure that I was able to get as well. So,
Jane, Veronica, do you have anything to add at all from any discussion superintendent-wise?
No, I think we had talked about it, both Veronica and I had talked, and because we've only raised it once or twice, this would be the second time. Once in 5 years, this would be the second time in 10 years. I think it's probably better.
Which I think, comparatively speaking, to most other things,
Yes.
sounds very reasonable. So Lisa, are you looking for us to actually have a vote as it relates to the proposed increase, or just to have discussion?
Just discussion, and if we decide to raise the prices, we can put that on the July board meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much.
if you
Thanks
have
for all
any
you
other
do.
questions, feel free to reach out.
And thank you for every time you've fed us. It's always been remarkably appreciated. Oh, there's
My
treats?
honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Okay, and so thank you. And while we're on the discussion of things coming up in the future, continued restart and reset discussion. Mr. Zuroff, are we with you?
Thank you. Holly's going to share the presentation, or attempt to share it on the screen up there. I did share it with you individually as well, so you should be able to pull it up in your Chromebooks. I know my clicker's not working, so I'm going to have to kind of point to her to proceed and whatnot. But no, Jane, Veronica, and I just decided, or thought it'd be a good idea, coming down at the end of June, to give an update on where we are as far as a task force, as well as subcommittees on our plans and what we're attempting to accomplish going into the next school year. There's been a group of administrators, along with about 70 plus teachers, the last 2 weeks who really dove in pretty deep, put a lot of hard work into establish some preliminary plans, which we're going to talk about here today. I think it's important to know that these are just broad strokes of items that we want to possibly put into place for next year. When it comes to policies and fine-tuning and things of that nature, we still have a lot of work to do with that. We're going to continue to work on that, and ultimately, if needed, have an MOU to come to the table here with this group to discuss. So, just diving into it, the purpose and goal, it's just a continuation of what we talked about at our last update, is to provide an update in status of district efforts, be able to communicate the plan or plans in place to our community, which then gives them the opportunity, parents, students, faculty, and staff to make appropriate plans in the fall. There are 4 words that we've talked a lot about in our subcommittee work, in our task force, in our larger group task force, and these 4 words came up a lot in the 2,000 surveys that our community submitted to us. That was consistency, accountability, flexibility, and communication. And I know one of the themes moving forward for our district for 2021. When March 12th hit last year, the governor gave the order that we were going to close schools or have the extended spring break. You probably remember that term he used, which maybe even caused confusion on that. I'm confident the district, or most districts around, if not across the country, but in the state, focused on flexibility before accountability. We had 130 days under our belt. We were ending the third quarter. towards the end of the school year, so we were really flexible with families, with staff, with the overall delivery of instruction. Just looking at moving forward in the future, that scale has to tip the other way. The flexibility needs to kind of to go up, and the weight needs to become on accountability. And that's been consistent again with our community as well as working with our teachers and administrators. That we want to hold ourselves accountable as a staff as well as hold the students accountable, regardless of which plan we have or may have to adapt to moving forward. By the way, Jane and Veronica, feel free to chime in whatever you need to. Just moving on to the next page, and you're good, Holly, right there with the plans. We're all pretty familiar with these. Full on-campus school is the green. The full remote learning at home, which we finished the spring of last school year with, is red. A hybrid combination of both on-campus and remote would be our yellow plan, based on recommendations or guidance from health departments or the governor on how many students we can have in a school. We've talked about those three. One we really haven't dove into a whole lot yet, but we have recently, and we're actually ready to roll out plans for this and communication to our families, is our orange plan, and that's the online alternative. Those are for those families. I took a call today. A junior high parent called me and said, here's the deal, if you have a yellow plan or a green plan and there isn't a vaccination in place, we may not feel comfortable sending our students into school, rightfully so. What plans do you have in place moving forward for us? So I'll get into it further in the discussion, or we will, but that's an online alternative, very similar to our SVA for our secondary group we use a lot for credit recovery, but we also have those licenses to offer grades K through 5 as well, where we can offer an online version right here through our Sylvania Virtual Academy, where we're not losing students to other online schools, and we're also able to keep the consistency of them staying in the district. So the 4 plans, all pretty familiar with those. The next slide is the green plan. We've made it pretty clear that's the plan we want to move forward with. That is our goal. That is our process. We want to start back school. I'll quote Dr. Motley, the magic happens in the classroom, and she may have got that from somebody else, but that's true. When students are in front of our staff, we have outstanding teachers who deliver instruction daily in this district. When they're there, that's when it happens best. That's all subject to approval, though. Big caveat there, an asterisk. That's subject to approval. Based on health department guidelines, working with the governor, things of that nature. Just some things that we've talked about, though, preliminarily. Again, if we put this green plan in place or try to have students come back to school, I tend to use the term like it was in 1920, but it's not. Even if we are back in session, there's going to be a lot of changes. Modified entry locations. There's been talk about do you lower the number of entry locations? Maybe you expand those to eliminate or to enhance social distancing. Use of PPEs. Currently, all of our temperatures are being monitored by our coaches for our extracurriculars. Our buildings are open for them. We're investigating thermal scanning equipment for our buildings. We'll obviously increase scheduled disinfecting of common areas, as well as have access for students to sanitize and use soap and water and hand sanitizer when needed. This has already started in the district. They call them sneeze guards, but they're planned installation of sneeze guards in office, reception areas, cafeterias, and media centers. They're just that pane of plexiglass between the public and our secretaries, and increased restrictions for visitors. Again, just broad strokes on the green plan, but a lot more work and a lot more we want to put in place if we do go this route to keep our students and staff safe. A quote. Yeah, go ahead.
A quick question, just for clarification. So if we go with this plan, the health department has to approve that, right?
We have discussed that today, yes. Dr. Motley is actually in the process of setting up a meeting with them sooner than later to run some preliminary plans by them to see what we would need to work on or what's acceptable, what's not acceptable moving forward. You can talk more about that.
That's correct. One of the things, I've reached out to the health department so we can get on their schedule because we want to be in front of the line. We want to be approved as soon as possible so we know what we can and cannot do. Unfortunately, I will say, although I've not received a call back, I'm sure they are extremely busy, not only the school districts, but private schools and other entities in the county. Nevertheless, I reached out to them to make sure they could come. Either we can go to them or they can come to us to meet with our team so we can lay out our plan in detail and receive their suggestions. Because again, our ultimate goal would be to implement our green plan. But we do recognize it is subject to approval. Some suggestions, we're open to that. We really do feel, and you'll see the quote at the bottom of this slide, the schools will be more safe than they ever have because we are cleaning more, we have protocols in place, we're sanitizing, we're having children wash their hands, we are looking at masks for our employees and the costs related to that. But just the protocols and the things we will have to pay attention to during our new normal, which will be in place for at least, I'm assuming, a semester at best, but until a vaccination is determined. The other thing is that we've learned that the cutoff for a temperature is 100.4, and that's the magic number. So when we look at students or staff who may be able to come into the building or may have to be sent home, that is the magic number given to us from the health department, so something to keep in mind. The other issue or concern that we are looking into, and not really a concern, but the concern is how do we monitor the temperatures of our children and our staff. And you'll see here we are exploring a thermal scanning system so that we aren't having teachers having to take temperatures 2 or 3 times a day for our students and lose instructional time. So I know that the business office has been in communication with other districts who are also looking at thermal scanning systems that will highlight a child or a staff member who has an elevated temperature.
So that's like an automatic thing that'll just happen?
It's like a scanner. They're actually piloting them now in some airports. So if you're, I think, yellow, it'll highlight yellow. If you are have the correct temperature, and if you have an elevated temperature, I think it shows red around your body of some nature. There's I want to say there's 4 or 5 different kind out there, Jane. I know that a couple other local school districts are piloting them. There are different versions.
Okay.
Some you can walk through, and you can monitor like traffic patterns. So you have so many students that are going through. There are others that they're having them mounted in hallways, so as children are walking through during different times of the day, just in case they have a temperature. They might not have had one when they walked in the door, but they may have one later in the day. But right now we're exploring those options and the expense related to that type of equipment. The other option would be to have every teacher with a thermometer and taking temperatures 3 or 4 times out of the day, or maybe once a day, but what does that look like, and also to purchase that equipment as well. So I do want you to know that we are looking at other means to not only meet the expectations of the health department and follow the protocols, but do them in a way that's also efficient, that doesn't take away from instruction. Jane, do you have anything to add?
No, I would agree with that, and I know
Okay.
that Keith had his operations team, they had different vendors come in and show them, and I think Penta may be one of the schools that is piloting them, and they went out and looked at whatever Penta had installed. So.
Because all we're expecting tomorrow, Governor DeWine, is guidelines.
Well, he's changed his mind.
Oh, now it's not
It's
tomorrow?
now Thursday.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
There will be no press conference. He was on today, and he will now be telling us Thursday potentially.
Okay. But guidelines.
Yeah.
When they do come, it's
Yes.
guidelines as
Well,
opposed to mandates.
Absolutely, and that's what we've heard from the messaging, that there will be guidelines and we will be expected to meet with our health departments to make sure that we gain their approval. And in meeting with the Lucas County Health Department Director, he really is looking to be a support for us and to give us guidance. He's not working to get on our way. He has a job to do to make sure we have appropriate protocols in place to keep our children safe and our families safe, because that's our number one priority. But I think they also understand that we want our children in school, and families want their children in school, and there's no replacement for attending classes with a teacher opposed to learning at home. So I think they understand that as a goal and a mission, and they're going to work with all of our districts to help that come to fruition.
But I like that we want to be at the head of the line.
Yes,
That's
we do.
it.
Want to get there, need an appointment.
So moving on to the next slide, just talking about, again, the red and yellow plans, and that was the main objective of our subcommittees to come up with these plans. on an in-case basis, or just in case we're given the directive, we have to start with one of these. Pre-K through 12, just some consistencies across the board. Again, focusing on that accountability when it came to a red plan. First of all, with connections with students and teachers, we wanted to be virtual interaction that would take place daily between students and teachers. Again, you go back to those surveys that parents submitted, regardless of what grade their child was in, but specifically at the primary level, parents were extremely happy that their teacher was able to meet with them daily. You know, my teacher got on with my second grader and read a story, or just checked in, or had the availability to do that. So that was important. Grading was going to be a little bit different, or be a lot different moving forward. Assessments will be made on quality work completion and participation, the elimination of pass-fail policies, and no extraordinary safety nets will be offered. Instead, teachers provide reasonable opportunities for students to complete missing work. Attendance, again, this would be virtual at home, full red plan, again, attendance based on virtual presence, quality work completion and participation. Some of our attendance procedures in the spring for students who weren't interacting was more focused on a wellness check. You know, literally, whether it be an administrator or an SRO or township or city police stopping at a family's house. Hey, we haven't heard from you, just making sure you're okay. We're fine. We're just not able to get on and work at this point. We're overwhelmed. We don't have the child here, etc. But working through that so students have the opportunity to complete and participate assignments. Intervention services is huge. Between special education and related services, just provide a more consistent and robust fashion that complies with the ODE guidelines. You know, you talk about compensatory minutes and things of that nature that we had to dive into a little bit more this spring. We want to make sure we're being proactive with those, so we're falling within the realm of the expectations for both special education and related services.
And Tim, if I could
Yes,
jump in
absolutely.
on this as well, one of the things that we had also discussed in relationship to connection and grading, as he alluded to earlier, when we were first put on an extended spring break, we knew that we had some expectations that were very flexible for our families. And I think this is where it speaks specifically to increasing the expectations for our families, our students, for interaction, and also with our teaching staff. And I think our parents expect it. We will have had time to plan and to develop lessons. I know that's one of the reasons we are continuing to research a learning management system so that we can leverage a more robust platform to engage our families, our students through the learning process. So I think this is a great start with what our folks on the task force and the committees have really started to think about in regards to making sure we meet the new expectations. If we have to start the school year, even at the onset of increased cases, hoping that's not the case, but if we have to flip on a switch, if there is an opportunity, and I shouldn't call it an opportunity, but by chance that we have to close a building or we have to close a district within 2 or 3 days, that we have a plan with expectations ahead of time that are in place and folks know what to expect.
And if you go to that next slide, Holly, the next piece was communication. Obviously, that's vital. One of those 4 terms that was brought up a lot, but it was also very, very clear from parents that keep communication for the week, including meeting times and the expectations on a specific day. It made sense for them. I'm not saying it's Sunday night, maybe it's a Saturday, or maybe even Friday the week before, but if they had that set plan and they had the communication on everything we'll be doing next week, and then just kind of bounce or take individual questions that focus back to that one solid piece of communication, instead of getting, you know, tomorrow we're going to be doing this, and then hearing about the next day on the following day, etc. So that was important. Veronica talked about technology and the consistency of a learning management system. Cheryl and her team are in the process of investigating a couple of those right now that can help with some of the consistency, that can help with the communication, can help with the attendance and grading in the whole process. So very important, though, that PD would be available for staff and parents once that is implemented, if we do go that route. And it was also clear that a new instruction day is included on a red plan. That doesn't mean students have a day off school. That doesn't mean it's not a work day for teachers. It's just a day for students and teachers to interact, for support with one another. It's also additional time for intervention specialists, related services, counseling, and elective areas to work with those classes on top of the other 4 days per week. I won't read verbatim the red plans that are in place, but they are on the next few slides for preschool, K-3, intermediate 4-5, and then junior high and high school 9-12. But again, just going back to what we had in the spring, based on if we would have to go this route in the fall or have to switch to this route, just the overall accountability that's going to be expected for everybody involved with it. So I don't know if there's any questions on the red plans before we dive into the yellow. Or any questions thus far? Great. Moving on to the yellow plans then, just some pre-K through 12 consistencies. Very similar to the grading and attendance. Attendance obviously would focus on those students who are in session. We're looking at, this would be a hybrid model again, going back to that yellow plan where you can maybe only see half the students in your class each day based on guidelines we received, where you couldn't have everybody show up in a grade. So how could we make that work with an A/B plan so we at least have the opportunity to see our kids every day, 2 days a week, as well as have a remote learning plan or an online plan for them at home. I will say this is the most tricky. This is the most difficult to navigate. The logistics involved from this, from A to Z, are very difficult, but it is something we'll continue to navigate and evaluate if we have to go this route, or if we have to go this route, to see if we can make it happen to get our kids in front of students at least half the time if we can do that. But again, the attendance, communication, intervention are very consistent to what a red plan would look like. Technology is the same as well, trying to have a consistent platform. And then the no new instruction day would also take place, especially just to keep some consistency. If you had that A and B group, to see those groups twice a week and have that odd day in the week where it's a day of a no new instruction, as well as support being offered by staff for our students. Veronica, I don't know if you have anything to add with the yellow plan.
And I think it's important to note these are plans that they are fluid right now. They are not a final rollout. They are something that is a work in progress. But I think the yellow plan, it is the most complicated. You may recall we had a parent call in not too long ago and stated, what does it look like if my child goes to school on a Monday and a Wednesday, but my other student or another child goes to school on Tuesday and Thursday, and child care, and we have to consider as a school district that right now child care facilities or partnerships that we have are operating under different guidelines as well. They're only able, I believe, to take only 50% of the amount of students that they were able to take last year or prior to COVID. So there is a stressor there that we're going to have to look at and explore for families. Some folks are calling hybrid that high school students go on remote plans while elementary school students report every day. And you may use some swing space. Some people are looking at an AV plan every other day. I've heard of some districts doing an every other week, with 1 week you're in session, the other half of the class next week is actually reporting online. So while you have some that are going in person, you have some online. So the yellow plan can be sliced and diced a variety of ways. We need to find out what best meets the needs for our families. And I will say that we do anticipate doing another brief survey with our parents, because we've talked about that in the task force. When we rolled out the first initial survey, we recognized it was early. We wanted to get that first pulse. Now that we recognize too that Ohio continues to loosen their restrictions, and hoping that those continue to stay in place to a degree, what are the implications for our families? Where we had 60%, I believe, that said they may return, is that looking more like 20% will say, or 80% are saying that they will return? As we shared before, I know that Cedar Point will be opening up soon, and with looser restrictions, and I think, Shannon, you said you went to Home Goods today, and the mall, and the fact that folks are out and about, and that's going to change their perspective and feelings about sending their children to school. And not only that, our families are gainfully employed and they need to report to work. And what does that look like? So those are all considerations, but I do want you to know that this is just a plan. It is fluid, it is not finalized, and when we post it on the website, we'll make sure that that's the message because we don't want to confuse folks. This is a work in progress.
And then just, again, won't read all the specifics for the K-12s as far as the yellow plans, but moving forward then to our orange plan. Again, that's the full online alternative learning. How do we accommodate students and families who do not feel safe attending in a green or yellow plan if those were in place? And it's important, Savannah Schools recognizes the value and importance of face-to-face teacher to student. As I said, that magic happens in the classroom. However, we understand and appreciate those families who want to look at an alternative option, who are going to put their children's safety first. So it's actually, I called it SVA. It's a modification of the SVA. It's going to be called the Sylvania Alternative Learning Academy. It will be an option to serve as a non-traditional instruction for families grade K through 12 who want to choose that remote learning platform. If you go to the next slide there, it'll be provided through Edgenuity, an accredited online platform. We're currently using it with our secondary students, like I said, grades 6 through 12. Elementary and junior high students would be offering would be limited to basic core academic areas. We would also find it necessary to ensure each student has a minimum of 5 courses, so we would need to tie an elective in with that. High school students would be scheduled a minimum of 5-year-long courses in order to be on track for graduation. And parent information and registration for that will be starting sooner than later. I know Cheryl's ready to go and her team. Probably after the 4th of July holiday, I think a couple of things is important for families to know more about this on a parent information night. And it's also important from a district perspective to know how many families want to take advantage of this as well. So we can just kind of have a ballpark number on how many students would be attending if we would be under the green plan. So
I have a question. On the bottom it
yes.
says parent family commitment for a minimum of a semester. So they couldn't say in October, hey, change my mind, I want to go to school.
Exactly, and I know that's still communication. That actually started, that initial communication was a year. And then just researching other districts and thinking about that more. I know that's going to cause, a semester may cause some staffing concerns, but we feel a family should at least commit to a semester. If you start in August and they find a vaccination in September, you're committed through, the end of December. So, yeah.
And I know that, you've done a great job updating our website. I appreciate the work that Amy has put into that. Have we done any email blasts at all to parents or to students? Because I ran into high school students over the weekend who were surprised to hear that we are coming back. And I said, well, that's the plan. It's the hope to be back. So I didn't know if we've done any blasts to families, to parents, or to students, just in case they're not checking in on our website to see, because they were truly surprised. And I said, well, that's, obviously all fluid and it could change, but as it stands now, yes, the goal is to return to the classroom. So I think it would be a good idea if we've got that capability to blast that out. Again, fluidity, check our website and all that. But I was surprised that they were surprised. So.
Parents, we always.
So went to parents.
Parents are always on my
Okay.
radar. Typically, when schools reach out to students, I don't, but I can make sure that that's.
We can close that circle. Yeah, we could definitely close that communication circle because even though sometimes the parents know busy schedules, students being students, they don't always communicate with one another. So we can certainly work with our folks to make sure that those high school students aren't so alarmed that we are going to welcome them back. That's our goal, to welcome them back each and every day here at Southview.
Indeed.
And
Thank
then
you.
Just moving forward then, if you would, Holly, do just a brief update, kind of coincides with getting the school year started. We're in the process of rolling out our Sylvania Schools Summer Boost program. This is going to be an online digital resource that parents and students can access for some additional remedial support, some websites that can that can benefit students to help kind of close any educational gap that they may feel they have going into the school year. I know May 15th, May 30th, our families were done. Our students were ready to be done with remote learning, rightfully so. They've had about 7-8 weeks away from it then, and the plan is to roll this out July 13th. Alex Clarkson is leading this, tying in with Cheryl, just a great website we'll have created with some digital resources for our families K through 12 to log on to access some online support if needed. So more information to come on that, but just wanted to share that here. And then just the last slide again, what plan do we start with in the fall? The plan or the goal is the green plan. We do have the red, yellow, and orange plan if needed, focusing more on the red and yellow and the green. It's also important that we may start on green, or we may be able to start on green, but there may be a time throughout the year where we have to flip that switch to red or yellow. And it's important, one of the themes we've talked about with all of our subcommittees or even the task forces, we have to be prepared for any of these. Whichever one we start with, we have to be able to flip that switch a lot quicker and a lot easier than what it was last year for families to get on board with it. So that's where we're at with things. Take any questions. I do want to say thanks, and I think I thanked in the beginning, but we had 70 plus teachers who cut into their summer and put a lot of work in the last 10 to 14 days with us to help establish these plans. And we're very thankful for that. I know we're going to continue to work with them as we continue to fine-tune these plans as well down the road. So special thanks to them as well as the administrators who were involved with the subcommittees as well. So.
I echo those sentiments. I know it was tedious work. It's hard work when you're trying to really prepare for the worst case scenario and at the same time prepare the best case scenario, and then yield from both to create another third option. And that's what we've been trying to do. And I think I commend the folks for being dedicated to the actual process, because it is a process. It starts out pretty messy, and then we gain clarity, and I think we will continue to gain clarity. One of the things that I know that Ms. Roche is already working on, regardless to what learning management system we approach, is looking at securing PD for our teachers and also doing a tiered system approach for that, identifying our techie people and making sure we have folks that are available in each building for those, hey, you got a minute questions, so that they don't have to go in a queue to receive help, but also making sure that we have some training opportunities for professional development prior to school starting as we look at the learning management system, whichever one we choose. Right now we're looking at Schoology, and the other option is Canvas, and making sure we can get PD started. It won't be full capacity, all out blown PD that will get them through the whole school year, but it will definitely start to giving them enough information that they can jumpstart and be ready to go. So we're trying to push that train pretty fast.
Thank you to all of you. You didn't thank yourself, so thank you. It's a very thorough presentation.
Yeah. I had questions coming in and I don't have it, so.
Yeah, I said it was very thorough. I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
Well done, Tim.
We'll continue to keep you updated, obviously.
Well, and I appreciate the rigor with which we've met every week. I think that having all the offshoot meetings, the committee, it was well timed last week when you had the meeting to let all the committee work happen, so when we gather again, we have that focus. So it's been very well led, very, very well participated, and my appreciation to everybody who, Ruslan's been invaluable, some of his perspective as it relates to education and returning some thanks for being there with me on the task force committee. But and I would encourage, any questions that we're getting, let's just keep funneling them, because I think what's surprising to me sometimes is the very basic things, that sometimes we're so focused on all the very substantive educational pieces that sometimes when a community member has a question that might be something more just basic, it's good to throw it out there, so we're trying to catch it all to the best of our ability. But if there's no other questions, we'll turn to you, Lisa. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the board to approve on a consent agenda basis items 6.2 to 6.11. 6.2, minutes of the May meetings, work session held on May 11th, the special meeting held on May 14th, another special meeting held on May 20th, and the regular May meeting held on May 26th. The treasurer's report for the month ending May 31st, 2020. the availability of funds for then and now invoices in excess of $3,000. 6.5, the final permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020. This will be submitted to the Lucas County Auditor. 6.6, temporary appropriations for fiscal year 2020 will also be submitted to the Lucas County Auditor, and it allows the district to start spending funds on July 1st. 6.7, purpose and budget statements for fiscal year 21. 6.8, the transfers and advances. 6.9, senior class transfers, closes out class of 2020 accounts. 6.10, credit card rebate program. The district earned $1,496 in fiscal year 2020 from credit card rebate programs. And 6.11, a salary resolution. The Auditor of State recommended that boards of education approve the payment of supplemental and pupil activity contracts. This resolution authorizes those payments.
I'll move approval on a consent agenda basis, items 6.2 through 6.11.
I'll second. Any comments or questions? You'll call the roll, please.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle,
Yes.
Bruce Slonczewski,
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Thank you. I'm seeking approval on item 7.1. We have a couple of gifts. One is a book written by one of our former Southview students, Blake Gillespie, donating a book to the school library here. And also the Southview Band Boosters have donated a cargo trailer for transporting instruments.
I'll move approval.
Any comments or questions?
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Greg Feller,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle,
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky,
Yes.
Bruce Slonczewski.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 7.2, I'm seeking approval for the appointment of Karen Roby as our Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning. She comes to us from Genoa. She has 6 years' experience as the Director of Curriculum Instruction in Genoa. She was also an elementary assistant principal, and she also spent 4 years in the classroom as a second grade teacher. Dr. Motley and I had the pleasure of interviewing last week, and this is the candidate we'd like to bring forward.
Terrific. My understanding is she may be watching us this evening.
She may
Perhaps
be.
participating. I'll move approval.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I am absolutely thrilled that she will be a part of our team. She has extraordinary knowledge when it comes to not only elementary teaching and learning and curriculum, but also the use of technology and how we can interface technology to really expand the experience that our students have in the classroom and beyond. So I'm excited that we were able to bring her on board. We truly think we will be able to hit the ground running with what she brings to the table. So I'm excited to have her part of our cabinet, and I believe she also has some transition days perhaps that she'll be joining us. So we look to bring her in really, really soon. So appreciate those comments.
If you'll call the roll, please.
Vicki Donovan Lyle,
Yes.
Bruce Slonczewski,
Yes.
Julie Hoffman, Shannon Sapersky,
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Karen, if you're watching, welcome.
Item 7.3 is our contract that we do with Northern Buckeye Technical Services each year. They did email me and say, have we not yet received our signed copy? And I said the board may be approving that this evening. So I'm seeking approval for that service agreement.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Bruce Slonczewski,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle,
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky,
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 7.4, seeking approval for an adjustment to elementary student fees. I think there was a workbook that was left off and is now needing to be put back on. So there's an adjustment in the fee schedule there.
Second.
Comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Greg Feller,
Yes.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle,
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky,
Yes.
Bruce Slonczewski,
Yes.
Thank you. Item 7.5 is our yearly Head Start agreement. I'm seeking approval for that agreement between Great Lakes Community Action Partnership and the Board of Education.
I'll move approval.
Comments or questions?
I have to abstain from this one.
You'll call the roll, please.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Greg Feller,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky.
Abstain.
Thank you. Item 7.6, this is an exempt salary schedule addition that we have talked about in the past. We're going to create a liaison with our ESL parents, and this person will also mentor some of the students, but they're critical for the communication between the families who are non-English speaking and helping our kids be successful here in Spanish schools.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 7.7 is the appointment of Khaldun Samkari for that position that we just spoke of, the liaison.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Comments or questions? I'm delighted he's able to fill this role.
He does wonderful things for the district and for the students and families in our district.
Where will he be, like stationed or?
I think he'll be an actual district employee.
Okay.
I don't know that we have an office for him yet. Tim, do you know the answer to
Not
that?
sure, but that's the plan.
Oh, the admin. Okay.
Terrific. Any other comments or questions? We'll call the roll, please.
Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky,
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Thank you. And item 7.8 is permission to bid the ProMedica Northview Health, Wellness, and Strength Complex. If you recall, we've done this in the past, and the bids have come up quite high, and we've gone back to the drawing board a few times. We're hopeful that right now would be a really good time for us to go out to bid and hope that they do come in lower than they have in the past. And if you have any specific questions, Alan is here to discuss those with you.
How do you feel about the market right now, Alan?
Everything that I'm hearing is things are looking a lot better and that there's companies out there looking for work. So I'm really hopeful that that's going to be reflected in the bids. The goal, if the board approves this tonight, is to go out for bid in July and have those bids back to the board in late August, which from what I'm understanding is really good timing for a lot of companies right now to be able to get started yet this fall. So.
Thank you for your work on that.
Second.
Comments or questions? You'll call the roll, please.
Greg Feller,
Yes.
Julie Hoffman, Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Tim, are you pinch hitting for Keith?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, then we'll turn to you.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend to the board on a consent agenda basis from the licensed side items 8.2 through 8.12. Those include a change in status from special education liaison, special education co-liaison, extra days, grad point content specialist, extra duty, national board certification, administrative substitute, a substitute resignation, supplemental position from 2019-20, new teachers, and a resignation.
Move approval on consent agenda basis items 8.2 through 8.12.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Glad to see we're approving licensed administrators.
Just keep it
Call the roll,
real.
please.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky,
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you, and then I'd like to recommend to the board on a consent agenda basis on the classified side, items 9.2 through 9.6. unpaid leave, retirement, new hires, a resignation, and personnel action.
I'll move approval on the consent agenda basis items 9.2 through 9.6.
Any comments or questions? Happy to see we're hiring a couple bus drivers. That's good. Can you call the roll, please?
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Craig Feller.
Yes.
Vicki Donovan Lyle.
Yes.
Shannon Sapersky.
Yes.
Bruce Vanslutsky.
Yes.
Okay, with that, we are at board committee reports and announcement, of which I think the most important one is, I believe this may be the last meeting that you will physically be with us, correct?
That's true. That's true.
Wow.
I'm sad. I'm really
Oh my gosh.
That's a very big smile.
It is, for being so sorry.
There's some tears.
I'm waiting for cartwheels.
So unless anybody has any board committee reports or announcements, I think this would be a fine time to start first with a couple people who have some comments they'd like to share before we share ours.
So that'd be you, Mr. Nussbaum.
Yes. Or,
We don't have a
well,
place to sign up.
I think, yeah, she.
In the school, I can find chalk. I'm being town. I'm a fan of being a Sylvania employee. I want to thank you for all of your work setting the ship this next year. But, I mean, after your can't take your Yay! Sorry. Here's good. And couldn't find chalk. You get to wear this the rest of the week. Years on the job, too long. And days, next stop is life, and the days of retirement fell off.
And did you say I retired for real?
For real. That's what's so right. Anyway, so.
Well, if it wasn't for this board, I would have been retired for real.
I think somebody else has some
the
comments
board
in
had
that
something to do
regard.
with it, so you remember, Vicki.
I do.
You know, it's serious.
Well, I think thank you, Jody, and I think we have the person responsible for the sign that now needed to be put on again, who has some comments and thoughts to share.
Jim Nussbaum, 2540 White Aspen. So, very quickly, I happen to be president of the board when Jane graciously agreed to come back for a year. And I really just want to say thank you for doing what was hard. It would have been very easy and very understandable, quite honestly, for you to say no. You have and have earned your retirement. You've impacted thousands of kids and worked tirelessly for their betterment. So it would have been very understandable had you turned us down. Me specifically. But again, you chose the harder road, and Sylvania families, kids, educators are better for it. It was a tumultuous time, and certainly nobody knew what was coming, the pandemic, but we were very lucky that you agreed to take the leadership role that you did. And I want to congratulate you, Jody, your family who's here, for supporting you in this endeavor. I want to congratulate the board for the selection of Dr. Motley, who takes over in the district. Certainly is in capable hands. And just again, thank you. Give you a hug, but I'm going to say distant. And congratulations, well earned. I won't be swinging by your house anymore, I promise, to offer you a job at least. But congratulations. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And
can't thank you enough for your leadership this year. I mean, we were a little rudderless, and you really came in. You have such a steady hand and such patience, and always calm. You know, I mean, even if something was on fire, COVID, I can't imagine anybody better to lead us through such an unbelievable time. And you did it with such grace and such strength. You know, I never worried. I mean, I did worry, but I didn't worry about you. Like, I knew we were in good hands. And, you know, I know how much you were enjoying your retirement and you were ready to go when you left. And I know it's, you know, how much you love this district and your commitment to Sylvania schools that, you know, had you come back and, you know, take us through this last year. And I know your communication with Dr. Motley will be invaluable for her. And you gave her, you left this district in, you know, in a much better place than you found it a year ago, and, you know, which makes her job easier moving forward. So, you know, thank you to your family, who I know it was a sacrifice for them, because, you know, here you were, back working so many hours, and just thank you. I will stop by your house, you know, but not to talk about school. So thank you and congratulations.
Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. So if I could just, can I talk now?
Well, yeah, I think there's others, and I think, no, me? Yes. Oh, she's got it. Got it. Okay. I just wasn't sure. Yes. I could see this from all of us. Yes. So I just wanted to say a few words, if I may. Thank you. Truly, I have found a colleague and a friend. We have had some interesting conversations. We've laughed and we've kind of pulled out our hair in a very short time. Like, what do we have to do? Oh, he changed his mind? Oh, it's not going to come out? What are we going to do? It's really been, sometimes we've had to punt, and it's worked out well. But I will tell you, you are responsive, you are graceful, you are poised, you are steady. And I appreciate that. I've been in several districts. This is my 5th, but in 30 years, so I don't leave around a lot. It's my 5th. It's not a bad sign. Very loyal. But I will tell you, this has been a very positive experience transitioning with you. I've seen it where it hasn't been so positive, and I feel very fortunate, very blessed. And another reason why I know Sylvania is the right place for me. And so much of that has to do with how you embraced me. Said, come on in, let's talk anytime, text me, email me, call me, stop by the office. You've been like that since day one. And I'm most appreciative. And that's going to continue. I'm just going to stop by your house because I'm closer. I'm in Sylvania now. I'm going to be there. So thank you, Jane, truly from the bottom of my heart, professionally and personally. It's meant a lot. And we still have a couple of more weeks together, so just don't get too happy. You're right. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Jim. It was a pleasure working with you. Like I think you said, just utmost professional, and you've been steady during all the crap that's gone down this year. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I thought you would have said no, but here we are. One thing I couldn't get over, and I keep telling people like how amazing that you stood on the graduation stage for 4 days. Because I couldn't wait every day to get that mask off after an hour.
1 hour.
Get out of there. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then I look at Jane like, oh man, we got 3 more days of this, you know, all day. So, but thank you.
Welcome. I was happy to do that. That was one of the best parts of this COVID, was seeing those graduates and their families. For sure, you guys saw that as well.
Thank you for, everybody has said, but it seems like such a simple thing, but it was such a big thing to say yes. To be retired, to be enjoying your life at home with your family, and to be willing to step back into the rigor, all of the stuff that comes along with being at the helm with the funnel going like this, and then COVID. And to have done all that the way that you did it, we're just so thankful. Very appreciative of the work that you've done. So
We appreciate it. And I just want to say I do appreciate that the board had their confidence in me to have me come back to the district, because this is a district that I love, and I love bringing my kids up here and them going to school here, and the teachers are incredible, and we've seen that in COVID. We've seen that, what they've done for our students in this difficult time, and I've been reading the Educator of the Year nominations, educators and some of the stories behind those educators and what the parents are saying about those educators. They're just incredible. And it just fills my heart with all the warmth that this district has to give and to provide. And, you know, I have a strong cabinet team that surrounds me, and they keep me focused, and, you know, they do a nice job. We get along well. And I'm thrilled that Dr. Motley is going to be the next superintendent. She's the right person for this job. She's going to lead this district and transform the district in ways that we haven't been transformed in the past. And she's got a lot of great ideas. She's also very poised, and we have a great partnership, and it's not awkward. And that's what I think is so wonderful, is that it's a true transition. That, you know, I want to leave the district, and I want to leave it in good hands and move forward. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm a bit blessed and humbled to have this opportunity, so thank you so much.
Most welcome. We're the ones who are blessed to have all of you. So you can open your gift.
Oh, can I?
Yes.
You know, I don't like doing this in front of people, especially when there's like music out there somewhere.
You're all waiting.
Right? I will read this. Ooh, la la, look at that.
Oh,
Very nice.
So you can carry us around with you wherever
Yeah,
you go.
exactly. I love it. Thank you.
Most
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
And in other times,
Appreciate it.
yes, COVID, but I'm thankful that we were able, thank you to all the people who made this happen, which I know was Angie and Lisa and other folks here, because we were like, well, we can't do this at 47, so I appreciate everybody who participated to make this happen. And then, does anybody have anything else on committee reports or announcements other than the big announcement, which is thank you to Jane?
I think the big announcement is there's a cookie cake.
Oh, there's a cookie cake. That's the big announcement.
Thanks
Yes.
to Jody for her idea.
So, right before we have
Cookie
that,
cake is also why, because what's the calendar?
Happy birthday, Jane!
Yay!
Tomorrow's Jane's birthday. We should sing or something.
No, that's all right.
Tim already had to listen to that. He probably would not give us an A for effort. So, do we have a couple folks who want to participate in public participation?
I think you have the one.
I think she gave it to.
DJ has it.
I think
gave
she
it to
gave it
Lisa.
to you. Lisa.
Lisa, I gave it to you.
So, are we calling folks?
Yes.
Is that okay? Hi, Jeff. This is Vicki Donovan Lyle, President of the Sylvania Board of Education. Together with my colleagues in the Cabinet, we're calling you about your request for public participation.
Good. You have my email that I listed the question back. I originally sent it on May 21, but we haven't figured out why nobody got it, but nonetheless.
Okay, if you could recite those, because we have one email printed out for my colleagues' purposes. Yeah, if you could.
I'll just talk and I think I assume you can hear me.
Indeed, we can.
And I'm going to paraphrase real quickly because it's a little longer. I did it by email on purpose. And again, it came back in May 21st is when I originally brought it up. And I have done business and real estate turnarounds for a long time, so I knew what the governor coming out with cuts and now 47 million unemployed and all kinds of things in the economy. The schools were going to have to obviously start tightening up too. And we thought there were numbers of layoffs that probably had happened to other people I had talked with around here. And in different places like, transportation contracts, security, and teachers aid, supervisors, and food service, different groups like that. So a decent amount of people. And I didn't get on that day. This is a meeting on the May 26th meeting.
Okay.
But I did listen. And so, obviously, with the economy now, I think
Right, so, and just to be clear, public participation gives you the opportunity to share your comments or concerns with us, which we very much value and appreciate, but it's not a dialogue. In other words, it's not questions then that we answer. So if you're asking what, like, kind of where we are with this at the moment, it's not a back and forth for public participation. It's for you to, now the board, I'm sending around to my colleagues your email, and we will make sure that we all have a copy of that email. And I'm sure someone will follow up with you, so it's not, I'm not putting you off, but public participation is a means by which you educate the board about your concerns, bring to light any concerns and details of those, then give us the opportunity. You'll either hear from the board or for someone in administration regarding your concerns.
You have the one from today, since those other ones, we don't really know where they were at, the one.
Yes.
Today or so?
I have the one from today, and then the chain that I have Keith's response to you and the others, so.
Right, they put them in, yeah.
Yes.
So at least you have the chain, I'll call it, from May 21 to now.
Correct.
And so there are a few questions I'm obviously skipping because of paraphrasing, but good job on the transition. You did a great job. The question and where it comes from is me having been in that setting many times.
Right, indeed we do. And we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Again, this is the response always, not just in these unusual times where you're participating by phone as opposed to in person. Even if you were standing in front of us, the response would be the same. So we will get copies distributed. I'm sending it around to my colleagues to look at while we're here, but we'll make sure we all have copies so we can take some time to reflect on that, and then you'll hear back from somebody with regard to your questions and concerns.
What's a reasonable timeline to think you'll hear back?
Well, given the fact that it's a holiday week, I would say that Lisa can call you, she's telling me, tomorrow. So you may not hear from any of us in the next 24 hours or 48 hours, but you'll hear back from our CFO before close of business tomorrow.
Oh, very good. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Thank you for bringing your concerns to our attention.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
I have
We have one more. Okay.
Number?
Actually, I emailed the question to Tim, so if, we're gonna go ahead and call her.
More on that?
What's her doing?
Yes. She has a question.
Shaylee Burridge. Phone number is 419-577-0050. Based on her emails, a special ed question in regards to whoever, like elementary
That we probably don't know the answer to. Exactly.
or we're working to answer those questions. Absolutely.
And this is who? Shaylee?
Shaylee, yes.
I'm just using phonics.
Hi, this is Shaylee.
Hi Shaylee, this is Vicki Donovan-Lyle, President of the Board of Education in Sylvania, along with my colleagues and the Cabinet from our Board of Education meeting. We're replying to your request to participate in public participation.
Wonderful. Hi.
Hi there. If you could share your question so we all can hear it and see what concerns you'd like to share with us.
Well, I think a lot of them were actually addressed earlier in the meeting during the presentation regarding the reset and restart.
Okay.
That information was really helpful. I think the only question I didn't have is with regards to students who really need, just so many hours of services that it really does require 5 days a week of intervention. What kind of programs would we be looking at for those students? I think my son would probably fall into that category. So, and I'd love to do that kind of thing at home, which I'm sure I can't be the only one. So, I'm just looking for some information about what is being done to accommodate students who really need 5 days worth of intervention in the event that we're not going to school 5 days per week.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm certain you're not alone. That would be a question best answered by Tim Zuroff, our Assistant Superintendent, Education and Learning, and he's indicated he can give you a call tomorrow to kind of talk a little more in detail, identify your son, and see where we kind of are, because as I'm sure you learned in the presentation tonight, it's all kind of fluid, but we want to meet the needs of our students where they are. And so I think a private conversation with Tim will probably serve best, giving you some direction on your concerns.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, appreciate you bringing those to our attention, and we hopefully look forward to your son returning in the fall.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, now we can have cookie cake. I think before executive session, and we'll make you first, James, because you've been waiting. I know, but.
I would have seen the purse.
Check it out. I have to. Just the right size. The weather's still going. I'm sorry? Oh, do I need to adjourn? Yeah, I don't know, the web's still on it until the meeting's done. So, okay. So we're gonna adjourn into executive session. So we need to do that. Second. Okay. So we still need to move to adjourn into executive session, so they can take care of the website. So I move that we adjourn into executive session for the purposes of
Consideration of employment of a public employee and preparation for conduct or review of negotiations.
I second.
Are you taking action? Vicki, are you taking action, please? Are you guys taking action?
There could be action.
There could be action when we adjourn.
Vicki Donovan Lyle?
Yes.
Julie Hoffman?
Julie?
Yes. Shannon Sapersky? Yes. Bruce Lenslutsky?
Yes.
Greg Feller?
Yes.
There may be action when we adjourn, but otherwise,